Michael Saylor. In the bull market, he was one of the most loved Bitcoiners on the entire planet. But the moment this bear market kicked in, all of a sudden, Bitcoiners have started to turn on him. Well, the stakes are high, and so today I'm going to teach you everything that you need to know about Saylor's company strategy, the company that owns more Bitcoin than any other company on earth. Not a fund, not a country, a company. And right now it's sitting at around 847,000 Bitcoin. Here's why that should matter to you, even if you've never bought their stock before. If this company is healthy, it's one of the biggest buyers Bitcoin has ever had. But if it gets into real trouble, that same pile becomes the single largest forced seller on the market, and that's a really big problem. The thing holding Bitcoin up could become the thing pushing it down just as fast. So today I'm going to show you exactly how this machine works rung by rung and give you the simple checklist to judge for yourself whether it's running healthy or running into trouble. Because over the last few weeks, a lot has changed. In part 2, I'm going to break down the brand new plan that they just announced, which changes the game entirely. This is part 1 of the part 2 series. In this episode, we're going to cover what strategy actually is, how it raises money and buys Bitcoin, and the 2 numbers that tell you if it's healthy or not. Quickly framing on why. And to give you a quick picture of why this is so important right now, there are 3 things that have just happened that put this company under the microscope. First, they paid back a big chunk of their debt and got criticized for it. The cost of their most important funding tool has climbed past $1 billion, and they did something they swore they would never do. They sold Bitcoin. A small amount, but they sold some. By the end of this video, you'll understand every one of those 3 things, and you'll be able to watch this company like an analyst. So before we dive in, make sure you subscribe and have the bell notification on, because after you watch this video and fully understand strategy like an analyst, the next video I release is going to cover big changes being made and whether I think strategy is worth investing into. And as always, please leave a comment as you watch this video because I reply to every single comment. Let's start simple. Strategy, the company formerly known as MicroStrategy, began life as a business software company back in the 1990s. The software business still exists today, and we will come back to that because it matters more than people think. But in 2020, the founder Michael Saylor made a decision that changed everything. He turned the company into what's called a Bitcoin Treasury company. And the idea is almost absurdly simple. Raise money from financial markets, buy Bitcoin with it, hold that Bitcoin forever, or so he said, then do it again and again and scale. And they've executed it like nothing we've ever seen before. They now hold around 847,000 Bitcoin bought for roughly $64 billion. That is close to 4% of all the Bitcoin that will ever exist, held by one publicly listed company. To fund it in 2025 alone, they raised $25 billion, which made them the single largest equity issuer of any public company in America that year. So what have they achieved? They built the first biggest publicly traded way to get Bitcoin exposure with leverage backed in. For a long time, if Bitcoin went up, their stock went up more. That is the whole appeal. The question we are building towards is what happens when that engine runs in reverse. Here's the part that most people get wrong. Strategy does not raise money one single way. It built a ladder of different products, and each rung attracts a different type of investor. Understanding the rungs is the whole game. Let's build it from the bottom. The bottom rung is the ordinary shares, ticker MSTR. This is the stock anyone can buy. Strategy sells new shares into the market and uses the cash to buy Bitcoin. Simple. But there is one number you must understand, and it's the most important number in this entire company. It's called the MNAV. MNAV just compares the company's market value to the value of the Bitcoin that it actually holds. When that ratio is above 1, the market is paying a premium. The stock is worth more than the Bitcoin that it holds. So why does that matter so much? Because when there is a premium, selling new shares is a brilliant deal. Every dollar of stock they sell buys more than $1 worth of Bitcoin for each existing shareholder. The pile of Bitcoin per share actually goes up. That is the flywheel. Premium lets them issue stock. Issuing stock buys Bitcoin. More Bitcoin justifies the premium. But flip it around, when the MNAV falls below 1, the stock is worth less than the Bitcoin that it holds. Now, if they sell new shares, they're destroying the Bitcoin per share. The flywheel breaks. Hold that thought, because where MNAV sits today is the whole story. Now, the clever part, when the simple stock model is not enough, Strategy built a second set of products called the preferred shares. Think of these as a halfway house between the bond and stock. They pay a fixed income to investors who want a yield without the full roller coaster of ordinary shares. There are 4 of them, and there's a European cousin as well, which we'll tap into. First, we have STRK, nicknamed Strike, launched January 2025. It pays around 8%, and it's the only one that can convert into ordinary MSTR shares, so it carries a bit of an upside. Next, we have STRF, Strife, launched March 2025, pays 10% fixed, and it sits high in the queue. It is one of the senior preferreds. Then STRD, Stride, launched June 2025, pays a 10% yield, and it sits lower in the queue. It's a junior one. Then the big one, STRC, nickname Stretched. Launched July 2025, this is the flagship product. It's designed to trade like a cash style product, sitting near $100, and it pays a variable rate that they adjust every single month. Finally, you have STRE, a Euro listed version, smaller, aimed at the European investors. Here's the key idea. Together, these rungs form what Saylor calls a Bitcoin yield curve. Different investors, different risk, different yield, all of it funneling into buying and holding Bitcoin. That is the genuine innovation here, but it's also, as we're going to see, where the pressure builds up. Now, if you want to know how my team and I are positioning ourselves in the market 24/7 using the exact kind of information I'm covering in this video, then come and join my live webinar, Building Life-Changing Wealth in Crypto. I cover my 4-step blueprint strategy, which I have now taught over 1,000 clients, and it's your opportunity to see if this blueprint could help change your wealth position in crypto. Click the link in the description to register now, and let's get back to the video. We just built the stack in order the products were created, but if things were to go wrong, the order that matters is who gets paid back first. So here's the whole capital structure ranked from first to last. Right at the top, paid first, sits the debt, just under $7 billion of it. Below that, the senior preferred, Strife and Stretch. Below them, the European one and the junior preferreds, Strike and Stride. And right at the very bottom, last in line, the ordinary shareholders of the MSTR. Now look at the last column, the annual cash bill. Add up what those preferred shares must be paid every single year, and you're looking at somewhere between $1 and $1.5 billion. Hold that number, because it's the heart of the next part. And notice where the common shareholders sit, dead last. They are the shock absorber. If Bitcoin falls, everyone above them has to be paid in full before they see a single cent. The people who bought the stock for the upside are the same people standing at the very back of the queue for the downside. Keep that picture in your head, because now we can answer the real question, what actually makes this company healthy or sick? There are really only 2 things you need to watch. Number 1 is the MNAV. Number 2 is whether the company can comfortably pay back what it owes. Let's clear up a myth on the first one, because almost everyone's getting it wrong. A lot of people think that if the MNAV drops too low, or if Bitcoin falls below what they paid, the company gets liquidated and is forced to dump all of its Bitcoin. That is not how it works, and this is important. Strategy's debt is unsecured. Their Bitcoin is not pledged as collateral against a loan. That means there is no margin call. No lender can force them to sell Bitcoin just because the price drops. So what does a low MNAV actually do? It does not trigger a sale. It chokes the funding engine. Remember the flywheel. Below an MNAV of 1, they can no longer sell shares to buy Bitcoin without hurting their own shareholders. The cheap money gets turned off. The company does not die. It just gets stuck. Now, you might ask, are they forced to keep issuing shares at a loss? No, and this is an important bit. Selling stock is their choice, not an obligation. When the premium disappears, they simply stop. And to their credit, that's exactly what they have said they will do. But stopping does not take the problem away. It just takes away their best tool. The bills keep arriving. That $1 billion and more of dividends is due every year. Flywheel or no flywheel. So the choice they have is the choice to stop digging. It's not a way out of the hole. And with that cheap equity tap closed, the only places left to find the cash are their reserves, the preferred shares, or sell Bitcoin. Remember that, because it's the whole reason for the big announcement we're building towards. The real danger is not a price level, it's a date. Their debt has to be repaid or refinanced when it comes due, and some bondholders can demand their money back on set dates, with a big one in September 2027. So the honest version is this: a solvent company can slowly become a distressed one, not through a sudden margin call, but through a long bear market that dries up its ability to raise cash before those dates arrive. The threat is a slow squeeze, not a switch that flips it. Which brings us to the bills. Those preferred shares pay income, and that income is now a serious number. The flagship Stretch alone costs around $1.15 billion a year at its recent rate. And here's the catch built into Stretch. The rate is variable, set every single month. When confidence drops, often because Bitcoin is falling, investors start demanding a higher return. So strategy has to lift the rate to keep that product stable. A higher rate means a bigger bill on the whole balance, not just the new money. So a falling Bitcoin price quietly pushes their costs up exactly at the worst time. Now compare that bill to what the business actually earns. Remember that software business? It brings in around $477 million a year. So the income for the actual operating business covers less than half of just the dividend bill. The maths is the whole point. The company cannot pay these dividends out of its earnings. It pays them out of money it either raises or by selling Bitcoin, which is exactly why the last few weeks have been so telling. Signal 1. In late May, they spent about $1.4 billion of their cash reserves to buy back a chunk of their debt. Smart in one sense, it removed a future liability at a big discount. But critics pointed out it drained their safety net down to roughly only 10 months of cover, right when they need it most. Signal 2, that rising dividend bill we just covered, over $1 billion a year and structurally climbing if Bitcoin stays weak. And signal 3, and this is the big one. In late May, Strategy sold Bitcoin. Only 32 of them. It was to help fund those dividend payments, but they sold it and they said that they would never sell. Now, the market reacted like the sky was falling because Saylor had built a whole identity around never selling. But let's be honest about the scale. 32 Bitcoin out of 847,000 is a rounding error. It's a fraction of 1%. The dollar amount was trivial. What spooked people was not the size, it was the symbol. The never sell promise had a crack in it. The reaction was about psychology, not about the balance sheet. And that distinction, sentiment versus substance, is exactly what separates a panicked investor from a calm one. So that is the machine. The rungs, the pecking order, and the two numbers that tell you if it's healthy, the MNAV, and the ability to pay bills in the future. But here's why I'm making this video right now. Just in the last day, Strategy has dropped its biggest announcement yet. A brand new plan that formally gives them the green light to sell Bitcoin. Not by accident, but as an official policy to defend the whole structure. And we're not talking about a small amount of Bitcoin. We're talking about up to $1.25 billion worth. This completely changes the never sell story. And it's exactly the kind of move that tells you whether this giant is playing offense or defense. In part 2, I break down the whole thing, what it means for them, what it could mean for the Bitcoin price, and whether I think strategy is worth investing to while there's blood in the streets. So if you have not already, hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell so that part 2 lands in your feed the moment that it drops. Drop me a comment with your take on the never sell promise and whether you think this is an issue for Bitcoin. Can't wait to see you in the next episode.